Good evening, everyone. My name is Josh. Welcome to the live broadcast. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a founder. I've started my own e-commerce company, of course, on YouTube, started my own website with my own branded product, and co-founded a SaaS company, B2B SaaS company, List Easier, which we all use and love and helps make our business easier. I have some important and interesting topics today. Of course, as usual, we go find ourselves live because I want to know what this volume on the microphone is. So I increase the traction and the gain on the microphone. So let me know, how that sounds before we get too on the way here. But I do want to say welcome to everyone.
First, as usual,
I appreciate you all. And there I see the broadcast. So we can get rocking and rolling here. People start coming in. So, new mic, new gain, new this, new that. Everything is good. We've got things moving around inside the warehouse. That's keeping everyone really busy. We have shelves moving around. We're going to have where the broadcasting station is moving around. We're going to have everything moving around. Mild Eye Melancholy says, did you say good evening? A long day. Did I say good evening? It's dark out here. That's why I wish it was in California there. Biff. It is dark out here, so good afternoon. Good evening if you watch later on. Howdy, everyone. Axe Monkey. Diane Matthews, good to see you. Sound is good. Howdy, howdy. Okay, I think we nailed it with the sound. I think we're good. I think everything is good. So I have a topic which I prepared some notes on. And the reason I prepared notes on is because I will forget, because there's a bit of a journey discussion here, a journey that I've been on. But the major change, we're talking about this $100 million e-commerce business or re-commerce business or reselling business or whatever you want to call it. The major change that's happened now is that the shelving is moving around. So things are moving around to optimize the space and the organization inside the warehouse. So that's what's been going on here today. Everything's been moving around. And now you can see the shelves have gone further this way and they're getting filled up and we're about to get started. 18 days away. 18 days away. Today, I want to talk about something called top of funnel. Now, this is inspired by a video that Pegasus Lounge did. And I know what a lot of people are going to say is, why I talk about that, why bring that up? And I want to talk about it because there is some important logic inside the video that I would like to expand upon. And that is top of funnel. So in that video, there was a discussion where online sales and reselling is a ladder. So you start in one spot and then you slowly climb the ladder and you move up. And, if you're starting your own business, you grow that business and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So in business, and this is to expand upon what was already being said in that video, because the logic is sound and I agree with it. In business, this is called top of funnel. So reselling, when you first start reselling, everybody starts the same. You write your own labels on the package. You go to the thrift store or garage sale, you find something, and then you flip it online and sell it. The process is very laborious. It's labor intensive. And you do it this way because you're learning. Now, this area is called the top of the funnel. So this is when people go from not doing it to doing it, and you go into the top of the funnel. Top of funnel can also exist for part-timers. There are people who just need to make extra money on the side. So they go into top of funnel to learn reselling, to do reselling. And for them, it's just making a little bit of extra money. For hobbyists, if you're a hobbyist, you want to do this for fun, you go into top of funnel. If you're looking to top up retirement income or disability, you move into top of funnel. But if you are a business person and you want to build a business, then you start in top of funnel, but you go what is called upstream. So you're looking to move upstream, and upstream is making process improvements in your business and moving in a direction that makes your business more profitable and allows you to scale your business. So logically, if there are people, and there are, I've been said, I don't name names, and I don't name names, correct. I don't. There are people who profess to be teaching people how to run a business, how to build a business, but those people only exist in top of funnel. They're not moving upstream. So they're entering into the funnel. They just got there. They're in top of funnel, which is a starting point for many businesses. And then they're saying, this is what a business is. Top of funnel is where it is at. You have to work harder, work more, do this longer, find this, find da. But all of that is top of funnel stuff. It gets easier as you swim upstream, but you have to go upstream. You have to go upstream. And upstream, moving upstream, is little process improvements as you encounter bottlenecks. So we all start by writing on the package where the item is going. So we put the address on the package in Sharpie marker. We go to the post office, we get our sticker, we put it on, and we ship it out. And then we say, well, maybe it's easy just to get eBay labels. It's cheaper. So you go and buy a Rollo or a Zebra or a Munbin printer, and you print out the labels and you stick them on. Now you can be more productive, right? So you would never defend the practice of writing on the package and say, this is the way I've always done it. I refuse to improve. Of course, you're going to incorporate that process improvement. Then maybe you get a tape gun, right? That's another process improvement. And this allows you to be more productive, because more productivity means monetarily your business is growing. So the more productive you are, the more income you can get. And if you are building your business correctly or scaling your business correctly, the more income you get, the higher your net margins are going to be. And you keep incorporating all these process improvements, and then you maybe have a stationary camera. Then I'm going to talk about my journey. Then instead of, buying items individually, you move to bulk buying, because you understand the opportunity cost of hunting around all over the place for stuff. And you incorporate all these process improvements, and this allows you to scale over and over and over again. And I'm going to talk about my journey moving through the funnel and swimming upstream. So when I very first started here, I left my corporate career. Many of you know about that. I was doing well, but it had grown tired and it was time for me to leave, and I wanted to take a second shot at building a business. So I started selling online, and I did it the same way that everybody else does it. Just making sure my microphone is okay. I went to the thrift store, I'd buy a couple things, then I'd take them home, and then I would list them online. And I would do this over and over and over again, and it was profitable. And my mindset was, if I just do this times 10 or times 20, which I think I can do, then my business will grow by times 10, times 20. Eventually, a constraint presented itself. So my thinking of just work harder, grind harder, entered into a constraint. I couldn't grow my business any further because I was spending too much time looking for the inventory that I needed to process inside my business. It was very inefficient. So I needed to solve that constraint to grow. So that was my first constraint, moving out of the funnel and upstream. I went to storage lockers. Storage lockers solve the constraint of having to rummage around, look all over the place every single day, looking for different items and then bringing them back to my house. With a storage locker, I could buy lots and lots of inventory all at once. So that solved my problem of having to hunt for inventory. I no longer had to do that. This was profitable, but again, I run into the constraint that 80 to 90% of the stuff in a storage locker is garbage. So now instead of running around looking for stuff, I'm running around donating, doing dump runs, and then what is left over, that's what I list. And it was a lot of different stuff. It's not the same thing over and over again. So again, I run into this constraint of it's taking me 2 weeks to clear and list a storage locker. I am now looking, running my numbers. If the net margins for me were on a storage locker $4,800 a month, so I would do, let's say, a net profit. Let me think about this. If I sold $5,000 worth of stuff from a storage locker and it took me 2 weeks to do it, my net profit is around, I don't know, $2,500, half about, maybe less than that. But let's say $2,500 for argument's sake. That means $5,000 I'm doing a month, which means I'm doing $60,000 a year. Again, and now I'm hitting this constraint again where I'm working like crazy. I'm spending a lot of time moving items, like I'm moving stuff to dumps and storage locker or into donations and all this other stuff. I'm moving atoms. None of it's making me any money. It's just something that you have to do. So I'm reaching this constraint again where I need to get stuff in bulk, but I don't want all this garbage. All this garbage is slowing me down. So that was the next constraint. So I moved again and I started talking to dealers, large dealers who were moving large quantities of items. And this is where I bought my photographs. So it was a $10,000 buy for $2 million worth of listed product. This was a great deal. It was a dream. The issue here, I started listing it and it was doing well and everything else, but I then realized I had so much product that it would take me 7 years to list it all. So now 2 million gross, it's 1 million in profit. And this is assuming amazing margins, right? Because eBay takes off the shipping, all this and other stuff that comes off of it. Now it's $1 million divided by 7 years. So I'm at about, 120,000, 130,000. I don't know what the math is exactly, 150,000 per year. But again, that's a constraint. That means I have to sit here and list and list and list for the next 7 years to get through this entire lot. Now the unit economics don't look like they work. So I reached another constraint. To continue to move upstream, every time I meet a constraint, I have to solve what that constraint is to move my business forward. So what I decided to do was brand it. I built my own website. I took these items and I started encapsulating. I built a registry. You all know about that. And what that ended up doing was it created a trusted brand. And that trusted brand allowed me to sell the same item at a higher profit. Because my buyers trusted me, they wanted the item in the registry, they wanted the provenance behind the purchase. So the unit economics worked out more in my favor now because I could charge more for the same item because I was now a trusted brand. And that is where I understood and learned the power of branding. Once again, I still run into the same constraint. I still got to sit down and list all this stuff. And that constraint was solved for me with AI automation. So when we talk about List Easier, the original plan for List Easier wasn't to come on out here and tell everybody about the software and get them to use it. We were solving our own problem. This was a constraint that we had within our own business. I understood that I can't grow anymore, and I've always just talked about growth. I can't grow any further because I still got to list these things one at a time. It doesn't fit in a scanner. So what am I going to do? So, between meeting up with Dave and starting a partnership with Dave and then Travis as well, the three of us, we took a bare bones software that Dave had built and then we turned it into something that we could do at scale. So it solved the problem. It allowed me to blow through these things. I could just rip through them. And then we're like, okay, now we can do this for most things. And we had this hard discussion of, do we gate the software and just keep it for ourselves, or do we release it to everybody else and then let everybody do it? And it was a hard decision to make because we knew that if we kept it for ourselves, we could infinitely outscale what everybody else was doing because we had the secret weapon. I'm glad we went the way we did, though. So this has allowed us to apply it across multiple different niches. But the idea for batching, when we started with batching and people said to us, why don't you do one at a time first? Why don't you do one at a time items first? Why are you doing batching first? Because batching is what you need to scale your business. So remember, we moved from the front of the funnel, it's called top of funnel. We went all the way upstream and we needed a software that was going to solve our problems upstream. And if it solves our problems upstream, we can double back and make the software available for the people in the top of the funnel who want to grow their business, or part-timers or whatever else, topping up retirement income, topping up disability, whatever the case may be, doing it as a hobby. We can make the software available for them once it solves our own constraints. That's the whole point of the software, was to advance our own businesses. So it's, if you think, and I know I'm on a rant here, but it's good. If you think about the Second Sales, Thrift Books, Music Magpies, these are all big eBay sellers. but they're on Amazon. They're all over the place. They have their own websites. They're large sellers. They don't get to where they get to by refusing to move upstream. So they look at constraints within their own business and they are like, how do I make this more efficient? In many ways, you see the opposite from a lot of influencers, but also just in the comments where people are defending inefficient practices like it is their identity. I am married to this inefficient practice, this inefficiency. I will never abandon it. And that prevents them from moving upstream. Whereas the upstream thing could be as simple as getting a scanner. You simply just get a scanner and it increases your productivity. The other thing I will tell you is that when you are in top of funnel, that's where the grind is. That's the hardest part because you're learning. As you move upstream, it actually gets easier because now you've built processes where things are happening for you. You don't have to touch every single process in order for it to work. And you will notice that, and Scott did a live this morning, Bearded Picker, where he was talking about that. I can bet you that Scott's life is easier now than what it was last year doing the same thing, because he's built now all these processes into his business and the touch points reduce and it actually becomes easier. So now it gets to the point where Scott can watch a college football game and do his work at the same time. It's just that easy. So, I see people in the Pegasus Lounge comments, Mason T comments, and they're back and forth about a bunch of different things. But I'll say this: if the argument for what he's saying is personal, like you don't like him or you don't like the way he presents information, then you will win that argument every time. But if the argument is logic, you'll get destroyed because the logic is sound in many cases. Every business wants to move upstream. If you want to build a business and you want to do this full time, you don't want to have to struggle in top of funnel. And I agree that I don't think people should be teaching top of funnel as how business is. That's the entry point, or that's where you reside. If you're comfortably earning a little bit of extra income, and there's nothing wrong with that. Top of funnel does not have to be where the beginners are. It is where the beginners are, but you can reside there for long, long periods of time. But don't ever teach that as the way to build a huge profitable business, because it's a very crowded area that most people are in. Many people will not take the steps required to build more efficient processes, which is what is required in order to scale your business, right? So I want to end this with this part here. This whole thing with private label and versus automation it's not a versus thing. There's both. So, you've heard Mason say he does private label, but Josh, I also do automation. And I say, I do automation. I'm automating all the processes. This is a tried and true method. Every big business has done it. They automate the processes and it's not that hard to do. Now you can do it on your computer. You don't need a ton of machinery to do it. But also, I don't show big parts of this warehouse because there's private label here and I don't want anyone to know about it. So it's, we are in the sales business and we are building sales channel. And when you find stuff that works, you do it. And your job, when people say to you, work on your business, not in your business, remaining in top of funnel, grinding yourself to death is working in your business. On your business is identifying pain points, pinch points, bottlenecks, and doing what you need to do to remove the bottlenecks. I know many of you, just by having a stationary camera set up, would make your life 100 times easier. That's only $80 or $90. You will make that money back within a day, but it requires that capital investment for you to do it. I've had people reach out to me over the years and say that on $100,000 of gross income, they've paid $30,000, $35,000 in taxes. This is off gross income. And I say that you shouldn't be paying that much in tax. How is that even possible? Who's doing your books? And I say, no one's doing the books. That would cost $600. Like, you should be paying almost nothing in tax when you're first scaling a business. So if you're paying $30,000 in tax, you're not doing your books properly, but you don't want to spend the $600 investment to have someone look it over and maximize your your taxes for you. It's that kind of mentality, and you got to switch out of that. $30,000, if you're paying $30,000 in tax because you don't want to spend $600 on an accountant that will properly go through your books, it's not a bookkeeper, it's an accountant to look at it afterwards and make sure everything is okay so that they can maximize your tax strategy. That means someone like me gets another $30,000 worth of capital that I can invest in my business that you would send it to Uncle Sam instead. And these tax advantages exist so that you can scale your business. We are always looking for the inefficiencies and the bottlenecks that are slowing us down. We're always looking ahead, and then we're trying to solve those problems. So I found that I could scale up to the 200,000, 300,000 range, and then I was again hitting another bottleneck, and the priority became, how do I get through that bottleneck? How do I get past that constraint? And there will be more constraints, and I think now that as we grow, and as we grow this business, and you're all going to see it live, the $100 million challenge, we're going to build this business. Constraints are going to be around hiring. Constraints are going to be around, packing and shipping, storage, these kinds of things. I think that's where our constraints are going to start showing up. And we have to meet those constraints and find a way to, break through them. And that's what business is all about. And then as you continue to level up or swim upstream and away from top of funnel, you keep breaking through those constraints. It's a really important thing to do. So I hope that you all found that interesting. It's a super important topic. To recap on this, reselling itself, going to the thrift store and finding things and then listing them online is top of funnel. If you want to build a business, you have to look at ways to move upstream. So you swim into the funnel and then move upstream. In the funnel, there are lots and lots and lots and lots of swimmers. As you move upstream, there will be fewer and fewer and fewer. I'm thinking of an analogy here. There will be fewer and fewer and fewer, and you want to be the one that outlasts and gets to the egg. But to do that, you have to move past all these constraints. If you remain in top of funnel, you're going to get top of funnel results. If you leave top of funnel, you're going to take risks, but again, there's no such thing as failure as you move upstream. Every failure is just a learning. It's just like, you learn something. Okay, well, that was the wrong way. Let's go do this. Oh, that didn't work. Let's do that. I can tell you right now, I have like 5 stationary cameras, and I'm looking at probably 5 stationary cameras here. Why? Because we tried 5 different things, and it took 4 mistakes to find the one that works. Who cares? What does it matter? It doesn't matter, because now the one that works is so efficient, we make it all back within a day or so. It's just a constraint that needed to be removed. And Super Dave is very good at finding constraints. Even when I think they don't exist, he sees them. Howdy, Eric Gunta, Diane Matthews, Timmy, Biff Boffo. Sound is clean. Good. Okay, I figured out how to fix it then. Den Decor Depot says, good day, Josh. Good to see you, Den Decor Depot. Beard King Picker says, hello. Hello to you, Alex. Welcome, welcome. Happy hump day. My mind's in the gutter today, hump date. Happy hump day Wednesday, Chicken Toad. Flogger says, hello there. Welcome, Flogger. I love your logo there. It's very cool, your icon. Spam Banshee says, hello, Josh and crew. Remember, at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going over to see Primo Chemo and Spam Banshee and Pokey on the Primo Chemo channel, so raid them. Raid them. Lead Belt Emporium, welcome. Good morning. Finally catching this live. Good to see you, or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the country. And good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Derek W. Pat says, hi, Josh. Hi, everyone. Happy hump day. Happy hump day to you, too. Flogger says, it's all about finding those extra seconds to cut down per listing. I want quick lap times. Yes. Okay, can I, at the risk of droning on and on, let me do another analogy. Let me steal some List Easier Fuel, Dr. Pepper Zero. Now I'm addicted to it now. I'm craving it. Here's the analogy. let's say I go to the thrift store and I buy a $20 dress. So a dress for $20, I know it sells for $80. I list it online and it sells. When you take the fees out, the eBay fees and the yada, 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 $20 comes out. Then you spend $20 in shipping and CapEx. What is CapEx? These are all your expenses, like the camera setup and the this and that, and it's spread out over every one of your buys. This leaves you with $20 left, right? Because $20 was your original investment. Now you have $20 of profit. What do you do with that $20? You go and buy another $20 dress and you sell it for $80. When you operate at scale, when you become more efficient, when you move upstream and you're buying tens of thousands of things, now the unit costs go down. So instead of $20 unit cost, that $20 goes down to dollars or even pennies. The CapEx, so that's the cost of your computers, photos, cell phone, all this other stuff, that gets spread out over a larger distribution. So that goes down. And those two numbers going down becomes your profit. So the unit economics work much better when you operate at scale, and it makes things a lot more comfortable. But you have to go through top of funnel to figure it out. You can't start downstream or upstream. You have to start at top of funnel. But if you've been residing in top of funnel and you have this dream that you're going to build this big business, you're going to do all these things, but you never leave top of funnel because you're stubborn or you just don't want to learn or whatever the case may be, it's never going to happen. It's just never going to happen because you have to incorporate technology and you have to move through constraints that other people have already figured out so that you can compete with them and take market share. That's how it works, right? And for those people that are saying, well, I've been doing this a long time, I don't want to do it. There are people saying I'm 78, I'm 80, I'm operating only downstream because it makes my life easier. So they've moved through top of funnel, they're operating at scale downstream, which makes it easy for them. There was someone who sent me a picture of a car. They're a bookseller. They sent me this like brand new Corvette that they bought. And that's because they had warehouse of books and the unit economics on the books didn't work. If you list every single one by hand, you can only list 30 or 40 a day and you're killing yourself and you're not getting anywhere. Then you take the software and all of a sudden you're listing 10, 20, 30,000 in a month. You're moving all your product. You're getting it online. It's selling, it's moving. And then it's like, we bought our dream car. I can't believe it, blah, blah, blah. The thing is, no one's doing that in top of funnel. You're not going to be in top of funnel doing things one at a time, rejecting all technology, all listing automation, staying in top of funnel, and then expecting to have some sort of breakthrough where all of a sudden, you can afford the trappings of success when you refuse to follow the path of success. It's never going to happen. So Flogger, I agree with you. You unlock something there. Rob, Special Interest says, got a note on ChatGPT this morning. Shop smarter this season. Let ChatGPT do the digging for you with in-depth research into the best deals and gifts. This is what you were talking about yesterday. 100%. Yeah. And the thing is, so we know this from our own research, right? We are primarily in data science. Not me specifically, but the two technical founders are in data science. So the name of the game is optimization, getting products onto platforms other than eBay, because a lot of shopping is happening now outside of eBay. This benefits eBay, actually. Now they're not forced to bring people onto their site. Everything on their site gets indexed across all these different listing platforms. It's better for eBay. It's going to drive their revenue growth. So the thing with ChatGPT, if they have 1 billion users, ChatGPT is going to think to themselves, how do we monetize these 1 billion users? And we already know people are asking to buy things on ChatGPT. So why don't we show them the things they want to buy? And what this may eventually lead to is advertising, ad revenue, everything else, and blah, blah, blah. But certainly what it does lead to is it's only going to recommend stuff that surfaces and is indexed really well. So ChatGPT or Grok or Gemini is not going to search the internet and find this listing that has no description, no item specifics, a poorly worded title, and a photo that it can't recognize. You'll never surface there. Ever, ever, ever. And here's the thing. That's where all the shopping is going now. It's moving off site, off platform. You want to be shown there. 100%. And it's only going to get bigger. It's only going to get bigger. It may happen in 5 years' time that nobody even goes to Google, because what's the point? Why would that be a thing? Anything you want to find on Google, you can find on the LLMs, like Grok and ChatGPT and everything else. Why would you go to Google, Gemini? So if everyone migrates over there and there still are people on Google, and this is where all the e-commerce is happening, you want your products there. You want your products there. List Easier puts your products there. It's a huge market and it's come out of nowhere. 2023, I think they said there was like, I don't know, a few million people using ChatGPT, and now it's 1 billion in 2 years. That's insane. James Helferstay says, good morning, everyone. Good to see you, James. Welcome, welcome. Alex says, good morning. David Varner says, good morning, Josh and James. David, good to see you. Good to see you, Alex, of course. And James, good to see you. Bnut says, I found a seller on eBay who clears storage lockers via a single listing. I managed to score a master case of something for $400 that will yield $8,000. Yeah. Yeah, I find with the storage locker guys, Whatnot always really worked well for them, because they could just blow stuff out while they were cleaning the locker out. So I think that was, they're like, hey, what is this thing? Does anybody want this? This is the thing that's live. And people were really engaged because you never know what treasure you're going to run into. I do think, though, well, I know this. Automation with Flex, single item automation is coming. With that, you'll be able to automate at scale, doing one-offs with single items, but you'll always have to keep in mind that there are constraints on the back end of that, including if you buy a plush that sells for $12 and you spend 50 cents on it, but it takes up like an entire thing of shelf, maybe this shelf room here is worth $5,000. So you're making a trade-off where you're putting a plush up there that's only worth $12 when you could have $5,000 worth of product there. So Miss Unite says, gotta love those guys. Good afternoon, Eric Bressy. Welcome, welcome. Saying our good mornings to everyone. Den Decor Depot says, I am very much in that. I have too much garbage that's slowing me down for space. Yeah. And sometimes Den Decor, you figure that out. You got to figure that out on your own and go through it. For me, that's how it was. I was going through my shelves and I'm like, why do I have a crystal punch bowl set that I'm going to make $17 on when I could put literally $20,000 worth of product there? Not donating that and getting rid of that stuff. And this really helped me get rid of my warehouse down in the States, because that's what a lot of that stuff was down there. But what is the point of this? It's costing me money. It's cheaper for me to donate it. It only cost me 50 cents to buy it, but it's costing me $20,000 in storage space. It didn't make any sense. So, that was a process I had to learn. So when I went to see the punch bowl, I'm like, oh, wow, I can get, $17, 50 cents is a great deal. But no, it actually cost me more money because it requires shelf space. Maybe it's super slow to move. It's going to be sitting there a long time. And then eventually I learned that I need to not only optimize for buying, so a 50 cent to $17, a 50 cent to $17 purchase looks like a 34 times gain. But you have to look at what it costs you on the back end, which for me would have been $20,000 worth of storage space, or $5,000, or whatever the case may be. Andy Reno says, how's it going, Mr. Galt? Andy, good to see you. This unites. Bnut says, branding is huge. It opens so many doors. It does, yeah. We talked about this a lot, and you guys watched me do this live, go through this whole thought process. But I was thinking to people, or I was thinking aloud, how come you guys are sending all these products out in tampon boxes, cereal boxes, Hot Pockets, Pizza Pocket boxes, all this other stuff? taping it with duct tape all the way around so that, like, why are we doing this? And it was very frustrating because I said to myself or out loud, this looks bad on everyone. This gives eBay a bad name. This gives eBay's brand a bad name. And I would do videos saying this, don't do this. It's bad, bad, bad. And the pushback is the customer shouldn't care what it's packed in as long as it gets there. Like, who cares? Doesn't really matter to me. I don't care. We have people talking about spray painting priority boxes and all this other stuff. And I then got it in my head, well, if you don't want to do a good job, I'll do it myself. And that to me was like, how do I separate myself from all these people that are doing these crazy things? And the only way to do that is to create a brand. How do I create a brand on eBay? And that's when that whole thought process started going. When you are the brand, you are the trusted source. So people will say, I don't want to get my Lululemons in a dog food bag. I don't want to get, the wrench that I bought, in a Hot Pockets box and someone put tampons around it to pad it. Like, I don't want that. But I know if I go to Josh, I'm not going to get that. I already bought from him. I know how it is. I would rather pay an extra $2 or $3 and go to him than have what Scott had, where someone packed something with the drop ceiling tiles. They were doing a renovation on their house. They broke out some drop ceiling tiles and they used that to pack stuff with. So when you become the brand, you can charge a little bit more. But if you're going to do that, you have to do a proper job. This business that we're building, this $100 million business, this is to prove that it can be done. This is us saying with the software, if you don't want to do it, we're going to do it. But people are actually doing it. People are doing it, and they're doing it at scale. There are people that from day one just hit the gas and they're going hard, and their stores are blowing up, their revenue's blowing up. We're doing it too. We're going to say, we can do this. This is going to, we'll do it ourselves. Watch. And we'll do it live to prove it. We'll do it live, as Primo would say. I'm on fire today. I feel good about this whole conversation. This is really interesting. You guys are awesome today. Branding is huge. Open so many doors, 100%. Chris Rose says, hello, Josh. I finally made a live. Welcome, Chris. Welcome, welcome. Eric Bressy says that in less than 2 hours, I listed 116 items for a gross total of $4,644. That's the photo, list easier, put on a shelf. It is amazing. And that's it. So in less than 2 hours. So now, Eric, I was talking about previously earning about $4,644. We'll call it $5,000. I was talking about earning that with storage lockers in a month. And that was hustle, hustle, hustle. And at the time, the answer was hustle harder, work later, work an extra hour, all these other things. You're now saying that you do it in 2 hours. So now you're putting up $5,000 worth of listed product in 2 hours. So that constraint is gone. And if you continue to do that at scale, it's going to spit those results back out at you. Of course, as long as you're taking proper pictures and pricing properly and everything else. That's the power of it. So $5,000 in 2 hours. Now here's another thing. This is going to blow your mind, Eric. You go to Taco Bell and get yourself a lunch or something. Those workers are maybe making $12 an hour. So those workers, this is how the business mind goes. Those workers making $12 an hour are saying that their time is worth $12, because I don't think anybody really wants to work at Taco Bell, right? You don't want to work there. $12 an hour. So what is your time worth? $12 an hour. Eric's time is now worth $2,500 an hour. $2,500 an hour. Now Eric can say to people in his life, don't waste my time. I want you guys to know, like in your head, you should be thinking like that. If you're going to go out with your buddies and you're going to drink all day and then drink, hang over all the next day, and that takes 12 or 14 hours, understand that cost $2,500 an hour because that's your productive capacity now. It's a huge superpower. Even doctors are not worth $2,500 an hour. This is insane what's going on. It's revolutionary. So congrats, Eric. but you are now worth $2,500 an hour. That's your rate. That's your production value. Now just do it at scale. John Flippin' Ain't Easy says, "Hey Josh, I'm still stuck on Buy Cry Love. I'll graduate to AI in a few years." Don't let John fool you. He uses AI. But that was, I feel like, John, that was a really necessary learning process for us all. That was really when I was deep diving. I didn't understand the algorithms, but I'm so proud of us both for going through all that and doing it publicly. I think that we went in a direction that most people weren't going. We're like, we're going to figure this thing out. And those early steps, I think, in many ways led me to this. It really did. Behind the Bubble Wrap says, good morning to you. B-Newt says, back in the day when I was gut deep in online sales, we vended B2C, business to consumer, venues moving hordes of supply chain product with 800 to 1,400% margins per sale. Yet still we ran into time bottlenecks that you are now eliminating, at least for eBay and others. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Because time is expensive. Now let's go back to Eric Bressi. I don't know what your time was worth before, Eric, but if it's worth $2,500 now per hour, now your time is very, very expensive. So every bottleneck, you start thinking of it in that mindset where you're like, goodness, repurposing this box for the past hour has cost me $2,500. I'm going to get the right boxes for 60 or 70 bucks and use that productive time to do the thing that earns me the $2,500 an hour. What you have right now, Eric, is a massive unlock. You've unlocked something super powerful and super scalable. It's a mindset unlock that you have now. And this is really what's going to talk about moving upstream. This is like supercharging it upstream. So this is a really good point. Thank you. B-Newt says, spot on, Josh. All a seller needs to do is walk into a bank for a small business loan and they will get an education fast. Yeah, 100%. Andy Reno's almost burned through 100 listings. Time to get another 100, 100%. Den Decor Depot says, I bought a camera for less than that. Need to build the station and process around it. And this is what I would do, Den Decor. I would just shut everything else down and just put the mindset in. I know that this new camera setup is going to make me XYZ per hour. So as long as I delay that from happening, I am not going to see the results of the XYZ per hour camera setup. So I might as well just do it. Now that is the focus number one. And what you end up doing is eliminating a constraint. Work with the setup for an hour or for a week or two, and then get your mind to where is my next constraint. And then just focus on eliminating that constraint. And it's like a bell curve up or a parabola. You start noticing the compounding gains of eliminating bottlenecks and constraints in your business. I promise you. Beard King Picker, is there a stationary computer camera that you recommend? I don't think it matters. We have a setup here, but I don't really know what the setup is. There is, I think anything that does better than 12 megapixels or 16 megapixels is what you want. So any sort of overhead stationary camera that does more than that, you can build your own. If you have a camera that is better than 60 megapixels, you can buy a clicker or an auto adjuster, autofocus on Amazon. You can set that up overhead. You can even do it like in a really kind of rickety fashion to start with if you want, as long as you get the setup properly and the autofocus and everything else set up, you do it that way. So we have, we've tried them all. But a great starter camera is just to get one of those Caesar 16 megapixel overhead document cameras, set it up, and just be like, I'm not moving forward until this is perfectly set up in the way I want it. So if anyone wants to put a link that is using one of those overhead document cameras, put it in so that the others can, you can help the others out and get them rolling too. B-Nudes, you got it. You got the analogy right on. Mild Eye Melancholy says, how long will you give an item to sell? I think that it depends. So on the back end, we'll probably utilize a 10% discount or a 5% discount and keep discounting down until it's gone. We have items here. So we run donation pallets. We're buying in bulk, so the stuff is super cheap. We ran 2 pallets of donations out yesterday or the day before. So these were items that were yielding about $200 a piece. They were doing excellent for years and years and years. This is for Super Dave's business. And then it just slowed down to a trickle and slowed down to the point that we needed the shelf space. So we donated the rest. And I think, or sorry, it's going to auction for the rest. And I believe he's going to get at auction what he paid for it in the first place. So that would be our probably our back end, how we're going to deal with stuff that's not really moving. And again, we got to set up our systems and processes on the front end as well, just like every other business does. If we're listing stuff that's consistently not selling, we'll just stop listing that. So if that comes up, we just donate it, get rid of it, or bulk it up and then sell the Gaylord or the pallet at auction. Den De Cordipo says, your listing quality report is the shape of a funnel for a reason, 100%. Mild-eyed Melancholy says, when you buy at bulk, though, you are forced to buy a lot of things that won't sell. You list them instead of calling them at the beginning. You are costing yourself money via time. Sure. If there is stuff that's not worth listing, don't list it. I mean, if whether you have automation or not, if the stuff isn't worth listing, don't list it. Donate it. Build a bulk pile. Sell it at auction. Send the whole bulk pile at auction. There's this weird thing with automation where the pushback is then I'll be forced to list garbage. You don't have to list garbage. List things that will sell or that you think will sell or that don't require a lot of space. If it is going to be a slow moving thing, like let's say postcards, there are people who sell postcards and they're making, I don't know, Daniel May's making $2,000 a week or so, $1,500 a week. He's got it in an upstairs bedroom on one shelf in the back. Like the real estate for that is not very expensive. And he's like, well, this pays me $1,500 a week. I don't really care that it takes up a shelf in a room. Comparatively, the other shelves in the room are more expensive because if that shelf holds $100,000 worth of product and the other shelf has a couple collectibles, Funko Pops that he enjoys, the Funko Pop shelf is super expensive in comparison because that actually holds no unit value. It's just there for decoration. Bnud says yes and no. In supply chain, there are many opportunities, even not having to spend $1 up front. Yeah, you could also do consignment. We have spoken to vendors about consignment where their real estate, they have storefront real estate with tons and tons of product that is difficult to move because it can't be shown to the customer because it's stacked and you can't move in there. There's so much stuff where we say to them, consign it to us. You'll get paid the same unit amount. You don't have to do any of the listing and you don't have any of the storage costs. So people can actually move around in here. So consignment is another model. And I know that's what Chase does and he's successful with it. Talking about buying and selling collections. Is there going to be a drop-down box to add promoted listings? That might be a feature we add down the line, Andy. I would say for now, just you can bulk edit it and just click them all and then send it to promoted if that's what you want to do. Or if you want to have everything go to promoted listing, just have a promoted listing running all the time and it will automatically add it into your promoted listing. Johnny, good to see you. Welcome, my man, my friend John. Check out the Profit Playbook podcast where we go over everything good and bad in reselling. Okay, B-Nudes, I'm going to skip this here. David Myers, because we're running out of time, says, I have been using List Easier and has been a good tool for listing items in the same category. However, when you say 30,000 items, no seller on earth is photographing 30,000 unique items per month by hand. No, David, but there are many sellers who are doing 30,000 a month. I think Walter Knobloch has done 25,000 items in a day. You just got to think outside the box of what is possible. Card sellers can certainly do 25,000, 30,000 in a day. And we have many sellers that have automated processes that have just been waiting. So they have the automation for photography and everything else, but they didn't have the listing automation. Now they're combining listing automation with photography automation. Certainly you can do it 30,000. We've done 30,000 here a month easily. We started this, we launched in July 27th of 2025. It is now almost 5 months later. There are hundreds of thousands of items here. Hundreds of thousands. I'm looking at a shelf with probably 500,000 items. Certainly possible. Certainly possible. Now, if you're selling vacuum cleaners, listing 30,000 vacuum cleaners can be very difficult in a month, almost impossible. If you're doing baseball caps, totally could do it. No problem. Definitely could do it. No one is price researching items. Well, I mean, you can blanket price, which is what we'll do, but you got to also remember this is early. This is very early in AI automation. It's only 5 months old. The stuff, the research and the data science that's going on, and nobody's doing this stuff. It's insanely complicated and insanely interesting. List Easier is we're building our own data sets. We're managing our own data, and this is going to give us the ability to provide predictive pricing. So right now, what Biff is saying is price is a constraint. Sure, maybe I can list 1,000 items a day and all this other stuff, but I still got to look up the prices. So that eventually is going to go away. It gets simpler and easier as time goes on. So it's a constraint now, but it's also a constraint for us that we don't want to have. We don't want to have a pricing constraint. We want it done for us. We are going to build those systems. We'll purchase some market intelligence. We'll build our own market intelligence. And we'll put the systems in place so that we can move through those constraints as well. Mancore Products says, anyone having issues with the quality of the AI results? In 2 hours, you haven't reviewed the quality of the results. Wondering what the returns were. I use AI and its help, but I don't blindly list. In 2 hours, I find mistakes. I think so. Between Dave and I and our accounts, let's say we've listed 800,000 items. I've had one where it made a mistake, one item. He's had probably one or two. So out of 800,000 listings, 3 have come back. Scott has done 5,000 listings and 1 came back. So it's already outperforming, not as described, versus what the humans are doing. And again, you can review it, Mancore, you can review every single listing if you want, but you'd be surprised how accurate it is. We are at 99.8% accuracy. We're about to do a rollout that will get us to 99.9. Some categories have more problems than others, admittedly. If you are taking photos of something very small and it's not clear what it is, you're not giving good input information or good context information, your accuracy is going to go down. So a lot of it too is, what is the quality of the photos? If I show it this and I say, what is this? The accuracy is going to go down in comparison to if I show it this way, and then it's going to know exactly what it is because this is filled with context. Clickbaited says at Mancore, I agree. Yeah, we have not really had issues with item not as described. This has been something that people have said who haven't used the software. People who use the software don't really have that experience. They're not really having that problem. Occasionally it gets something wrong, but it's very, very rare and it's only getting better. Eric Bresci says, my family and I have taken 4 van loads of crap, the punch bowls that were dragging me down. You're on the way, man. You are going to have a very interesting year. I promise you that. Okay, Rewind is fixed, says Jovial Juggler. That's awesome. Knobloch is a cautionary tale of diminishing returns. I don't think so. There's literally no effort. The guy works like 4 hours a week and he makes thousands of dollars every single week. That is like a dream. There's no effort required. Um, for us too, I mean, we only use listing automation. We only use AI automation. We are paying for an employee, a warehouse. We built a software business off of it. We pay our, our mortgages, our bills, all the things, the renovations, cars, it's all through listing automation. Living super comfortable lives. You can see the difference between the life everyone is living now that's using it versus, years ago. It's transformed everything, and it's new. It's brand new. So I disagree with you. I know you're trying to play devil's advocate because I know you use the software, but I don't. I really don't. I'm not really seeing the things that you're saying, Biff. Miss Unite says, another question, Josh. Have you experienced any flood control from Google? No. So I've heard other people say issues with flooding. Google indexes for quality. So Google is crawling probably billions of new pages every single day, or millions, or whatever, hundreds of millions. It's a huge amount. So when other softwares are saying that they're struggling with flooding, it is because they are flooding Google and the LLMs with low quality listings that are not getting optimized. So what they're seeing is a high bounce rate, low indexing, low SEO rank. And what they end up saying is that, the listings that we're putting out there aren't performing well because Google has a problem with flooding. They don't have a problem with flooding. Google has a problem with low quality, not optimized listings. If you listen to what their search wants, what their AIs want, and you marry your results to what they're looking for, flooding is not an issue. It never becomes an issue. It will always rank optimized listings, optimized pages, the highest over junk. Junk will never get the same above the fold space as what good quality descriptive listings will. Never, ever, ever. So there is no issue with flooding because our listings are the best. And with that, thank you all for joining me today. This was an exciting one. I enjoyed it. Thank you all for joining me today. I appreciate you all. See you over at Primo Chemo. Have a great one. Take care.